everybody, and welcome to another Hands Occupied video tutorial. I'm Heidi, the blogger behind the blog Hands Occupied, and in today's video I am going to show you how to do a couple little tricks with the edges of a heel flap in a cuff down sock to make the edges look a little bit neater in your finished sock. So on my needle here I have 32 stitches, and we're just going to pretend this is a heel flap attached to a sock for demonstration purposes. If you look at the sides here, you'll notice little V's of alternating color that are resting perpendicular to the rest of our pretend heel flap. You can see it here and again over here. Having those stitches rest perpendicular to the rest of the heel flap helps you when you go to pick up stitches when you're forming the gusset of your sock. So let me show you a couple socks I have here and why you would want to do this in your heel flaps. So this pair of socks I designed, this is called, they're actually Mukluks style slippers, but they're constructed just like top down socks. And so you can see my heel flap here is done in linen stitch like what I have on my needles. But if you look at this section here where stitches are picked up along the heel flap, you will see that this line right here where I'm pointing looks a little bit different than this line. See how this line almost looks like a nice twist or a braid, and the edges laying all very evenly. And on this one, there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't have that little extra flair to it that makes it that much fancier. So this is totally an optional thing if you want to add that little bit of a twist to where you pick up your stitches along the heel flap. As you can see here, I've already worked 4 repeats of 2-color linen stitch for my fake heel flap that I'm demoing on. So let me show you the little trick I do at each end of the heel flap to make this nice edge. This is also a trick you can use if you're not knitting socks to make the edge a little nicer if you're making a scarf or a cowl using linen stitch. Let's get started. We've just done color B, which is orange, on my needle here, so I'm going to switch to color A. This 2-color linen stitch is worked over 4 rows to get this checkerboard style pattern. We begin by slipping the first stitch, but with the yarn in front. That lets us bring the yarn to the back, creating the twist in that first stitch. Then we'll work across the row, alternating knit 1 and slipping 1 with the yarn in front. Knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1. So we're alternating the working yarn being at the back for the knit stitch and at the front for the slip. I've done another tutorial that's a beginner tutorial on doing linen stitch, and I demonstrate that with just 1 color also on this YouTube channel, and you'll see that this is the same exact technique as a single color linen stitch, but we're just switching the color of our working yarn every 2 rows. And we're almost to the end, and so we'll slip, knit, and slip, and knit to finish. All right, so that first row of color A ends on a knit stitch. Next, we'll turn our work to the wrong side, and we're still gonna work, this is the second row of color A, or the blue that we're using, and we're going to work the wrong side, which I think looks cool, just like the right side. So if you ever wanted to change things up and have the wrong side be the outside on linen stitch, you can totally do that and get away with it. So for row 2 of this pattern, we're going to again slip the first stitch with the yarn in front. And it's easier to see on this end where there's not tails and color changes, that beautiful braid-like edge on our work. And so as you can see here, when I slip that first stitch, it allows the stitch to lie in that braid with the other colors, which is really neat. So then we will purl one stitch, bring the yarn to the back of the work, and slip one. Yarn to the front to purl, yarn to the back to slip. And we'll do that all the way to the last stitch of the row. All right, then we will purl one more and slip one more. Then, before doing anything to the last stitch on our non-dominant hand needle, we're going to flip our Clr B, or our orange working yarn, and our Clr A. So our Clr B working yarn, our orange yarn, will go between the needles to the back of the work, like so. And then we will jump rope the blue yarn between the needles to the front before working that last purl stitch. This is a way to achieve that braid on the color changing side of the heel flap or the linen stitch, while masking the tail so there's not a twist around the outside covering our beautiful braid. Now we've just finished our first 2 rows of Clr A, and we're going to turn our work to the right side and switch to Clr B, which is orange in this case. And luckily, rows 3 and 4, or the 2 orange rows that we work, are identical to the blue rows. We're just using a different color of yarn. So again, our yarn is in front, and you can see here where we crisscrossed our working yarns. Right there, you can see it. Where we crisscrossed our working yarns, we've already got the orange yarn in the front, not covering up the beautiful braid on our edge, and we're ready to start with a slip, leaving that yarn in the front, bring the yarn to the back to knit. Then yarn to the front, slip, yarn to the back, knit, yarn to the front, slip, yarn to the back, knit, and we'll do that all the way across. And for our last 2 stitches, again, we will slip one and end on a knit one. And just like before, you can see our beautiful braid continues to grow up the side of our work, which is exactly what we're going for here. Now we'll flip to the wrong side and continue working with Clr B, or our orange yarn. So to keep that braid intact, once again, just like before, we're going to slip one with the yarn in front, purl one, and then for the rest of the row, we'll bring the yarn to the back to slip one, bring the yarn to the front to purl one. Slip one with yarn in back, purl one, and continue across until you get to the last stitch. And one more purl one more stitch slipped with the yarn in back, and then it's time for our jump rope. Bring the Clr A yarn, the blue yarn, to the back between the needles. Bring the B yarn, the orange, to the front, and purl that last stitch. And double check at the end of each row to make sure your braid is still intact. And then it's perfect and lovely. So when you go to pick up these stitches, if you're doing a cuff down sock with a heel flap, all you've got to do to get that pretty, let me grab the sock, that pretty edge that I talked about earlier, all you've got to do is capture each V of the braid and you're all set to get that beautiful picked up edge. Or again, if you're not quite to the point of socks, you can just have this awesome alternating color braid on the edge of your scarf or cowl and it makes it look that much more legit. Don't forget to give us a like if you liked this video or found it useful. Don't hesitate to leave a comment if you've got any questions, and thank you so much for watching.